So there are three ways we could do this question. The first one is to just use the answer choices, and I'll do it with the correct answer. So what they're saying is, if we were to write these consecutive odd integers, and if k was, say, 41, then the sum from 1 through 39 would be the same as the numbers that are greater than k, which is 41 in this case. So 43, 45, 47, all the way to 57. So that's the condition we're checking. If you're plugging in, you would just find these two sums. There's also a formula for the sum of first and consecutive odd integers. So here I just need to figure out how many do I have, which would be last minus first divided by 2. That's the spacing plus 1. So there are 20 of them. So their sum would be 20 square, or 400. If you don't know this part, the other way you can do this is the average of all these terms, because this is an arithmetic sequence, would be the average of the first and last term is 20. And then you figure out the number of terms, and the sum would be the average times the number of terms, and you again get 400. In fact, this is what I'll do here. Here the average would be 57 plus 43 over 2, average of the first and the last term, which is 50. And then the number of terms would be last minus first over spacing plus 1, which is 14 over 2. 7 plus 1 is 8. And then the sum would be average times the number of terms. So it works out. So we know that's the answer. So if you're doing in the exam, obviously it will depend on which sequence you take. So there's a little bit of that random process in terms of how and when you get to the correct answer. So that's one way. The second one is we can use that formula that I mentioned about the sum of k consecutive odd integers. If this is k, actually I want to do k minus 2 because I need to figure out k here. So I just need to first figure out the number of terms here, which would be last minus first over the spacing plus 1. So k minus 3 over 2 plus 1, which is k minus 3 plus 2 over 2, or k minus 1 over 2. So that sum would be just the square. This is the number of terms, so you just square that. And we want that to be equal to the sum of the remaining terms, which would be k plus 2, because remember k is the number in between k minus 2 and k plus 2. So here we have k plus 4, and then the last term is 57. Here the average, actually, instead of doing the average, what I'll do is I can find the sum of all of these numbers from 1 through 57. And I have 57 minus 1 over 2. Again, I'm trying to count how many do I have total, which is 56 over 2 plus 1, which is 29. So sum of all these numbers is 29 square. And if I subtract the sum to k of these consecutive odd numbers, so 1 plus 3 plus 5, and I have to do it to k because to get to the sum of the remaining numbers, k plus 2 onwards, I have to subtract that from the total sum. So here, again, I need to figure out how many terms do I have, and that would be last minus first over 2 plus 1, so k minus 1, so this would be k plus 1 over 2. So I get k plus 1 over 2 square. So this is the equation that will give you the value of k, and we just have to do the algebra. We have the same denominators, it's 4, and I'll move it to the other side. And then use the standard identity, k squared plus 1. You'll see the middle term will drop out. 4 times 29 square, that drops out. And if I divide by 2, I'll get k squared plus 1 is 2 times 29 square. And if you were to solve this, I'll just do that here, 29 square, which is 841 times 2, and then minus 1. So I get k squared is 1681. And then if you take the square root of that, you get 41, as we should. So that's the second method. And then the third would be, we can write the sum. I mean, they're all kind of linked. and this is k minus 2, this is k plus 2, k plus 4, up to 57. So here I can use this formula for the sum of an arithmetic sequence. Average would be the average of the first and last term, so that's the average, and the number of terms would be last minus first over 2 plus 1. So that's the sum of this portion. I'll do the same thing here. The average would be the average of the first and last, and then the number of terms would be last minus first over 2 minus 1, plus 1. And this is the condition. So I just have to clean this up, k minus 1 over 2. This is 2 over 2, so this would become k minus 1 over 2. That becomes k plus 59 over 2. And this I can write 2 over 2, so this would be 57 minus k, and then over 2. These would drop out, and that's the equation. So at this stage, you can either just plug in values, or you can just do the algebra to find k. If you plug in k equal to 41, you'll see that becomes 40 square, and then this becomes 100, and 57 minus 41 is 16, and they do indeed are equal. So again, you get the answer 41. So depending on which method you're comfortable with, you can choose. So it's really just a matter of personal preference, but make sure that all the underlying relationships you are comfortable. For example, that the sum of the first n odd consecutive integers is the square of the number of terms, and also how you can use the average and the number of terms to find the sum of any arithmetic sequence. So to summarize, the answer is A.